Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Chavasse is the owner of Parker and Boots Photography and also an NLP practitioner. Flea says that she found networking quite nerve-wracking to start with, but it's definitely been worthwhile persevering with. Today's episode has been very kindly sponsored by Only, the online business network for people who like people. Thank you very much for being my guest on the podcast today, Flea.
Oh, thanks very much for having me, Liz. I've been looking forward to this.
So you're a photographer and an NLP practitioner, which we'll get to shortly. First of all, have you always worked in the world of photography?
No, not at all, actually. When I was doing my degree, I did learn how to be a photographer and learnt as part of my art degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually went on to do a teacher's training course. So I did a PGCE after uni. That was in art and design.
Yeah.
And then I changed my mind and went into publishing. So publishing was the English side of things, I suppose, because I did English literature as well. It was a joint degree. So I spent 10 very happy years in children's publishing, which was great. So I was a salesperson, a sales manager in that industry.
That sounds really good. So why did you leave that?
Well, I had my first child. So I've got 3 children now, quite spread out over the years. So I did go back to work for a little while.
Yeah.
But I think probably like a lot of women, maybe in similar circumstances, I sort of felt I didn't have enough time for my work and I didn't have enough time for my daughter. Yeah. So I did, after about a year or so of going back, I did decide to go be a full-time mum. Yeah. So that continued for a long time. And then I got to a point and think, oh, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? And I really did have to think, sort of wrap my brains for it. And it was only it's like a lot of things, it's only really when you take action and do something that it leads you down another path. So I phoned up the school of my 2 kids at the time, and I ended up going up and helping in the art department and teaching this sort of year 6 art club and things like that. And then I got involved in the photography and sort of helping them with their projects. And it just went on from there. I started doing sort of exhibitions with my photography art. And then jobs started to emerge. So I started to photograph people's parties and events and things like that. Yeah. And this is almost 12 years later now.
So did you find that you just kind of fell into it in a way?
Kind of. I mean, I was definitely looking for something new. I knew I wouldn't go back to publishing. Yeah. Because it's just so full on. It's the sort of job when you're out, early in the morning. I'd moved to the countryside as well, so the commute was long. And for both of us to do that, my husband and I, it's just quite difficult to bring the kids up as well. So and I just refound my love of photography, which is lovely, really. And sort of went down the digital path because obviously when I'm a fair old age and I learned in film, so everything I learned about photography, it was all to do with film and developing in the darkroom and that sort of thing. So I did have to really get to grips with the digital side of things.
That was going to be my next question, actually, about how much photography has changed over the years. And did it feel like you're sort of learning a whole new skill in a way, the digital side of things?
It kind of did, really. Because working your way around the camera, it did feel quite, even though you know the basics, and when you learn with film, you have to set up the picture straight away. You have to know everything. Yeah, you can't just go on auto. Yeah, you have to know everything. So it's a great way to learn photography. So I sort of had to go, I suppose, backwards. I suppose in a way. I don't know. Yeah.
And I suppose the whole editing side as well wasn't really something that was possible in the film days.
No, exactly. So yes, I was self-taught with all the Lightroom and everything. So it's been a real learning curve over that time, and it's changed very much over the journey because I've just learned so much, and I've had to learn so much. Even being a businesswoman on my own. That I have to learn all of that. So it's taken a
Yes.
while.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have you found it working for yourself?
Oh yeah, good. I mean, it suits me. I like to have that sort of freedom to pick and choose what I do, but it's also hard, as I'm sure you know, Liz, as well. Have to generate all your work. You have to network. You need to do your finances.
Yeah.
You do everything. But I wouldn't have it any other way either. No.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about your business now and the kind of photographs that you tend to take. 'Cause there's lots of different genres of photography, aren't there?
Oh gosh, there's so many, and they're all so different.
Mm.
A lot of people sort of assume you're a wedding photographer when you speak to people. That's the first thing
Mhm.
they say. But that wasn't for me. I've done a couple of things like that, but I I suppose I found my niche, as it were, about 5 years ago. And I sort of trained with someone in America all about branding.
Mm.
So I mean, she was a great tutor, and her course had so much value. So that's when I sort of got a decent website, and well, I made it myself. But
Mhm.
if there's any website developers out there, it might not be that great. But but I basically took my business probably to another level about 5 years ago, and decided to work with business owners.
Mm.
So more about branding, and it sort of felt aligned to me to as a business owner to work with other
Mhm.
business owners, and help them with their visuals. So I've done that ever since, really, and love it. I still love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So what kinds of businesses do you tend to work with? Is there has a pattern emerged with who you tend to work for?
Yeah, it has really. So garden design is one
Mm.
element which I love because that ties in my love of nature and photographing the detail and texture, and so that really I love that element, and that's sort of growing slowly. Um, I do love doing some food photography. Um, I love doing that. That's a different thing altogether. Um, and yeah, I just love working with people. I suppose I'm fascinated by people. I suppose that's where the NLP element comes in. And
Yeah.
yeah, how we sort of react with each other and connect with each other. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question now that might seem quite basic, but what
Mm.
is brand photography? Everyone talks about it. So, oh, yeah, you need some brand photography for your business. What kind of photos does that involve?
That's funny you ask that, Liz, because more recently I've been little bit troubled by it, and
Mm.
I don't know, because I think some people still just think, what is that? And I think they understand it more if you say, photos for your website or for your social
Yeah.
media. I think people understand that more still.
Yeah.
So, I mean, personal branding is it's basically showing the person behind the brand. So having your own brand is, we know famous brands like McDonald's and
Hmm.
Coca-Cola and things like that. So your own brand is just your own version of that. And personal brand is showing you the person behind, or the creator behind the
Yeah.
brand, as it were. So it's quite simple, really. I think people talk about it as like it's a mystery, but
Yeah.
it's.
That's right.
Do you think that
Yes.
it's all it's all very simple, really? And I just so I've almost shied away a little bit from saying personal brand, whereas I used to say it all the time. But I feel that people just understand it more when you say, "Look, I'm going to get some great shots for your website, and show who you are," and in those sort of simple
Yeah.
terms.
Yeah. And what sort of difference do you think it makes to your clients to have those professional photos of them doing what they do and the kind of the behind the scenes pictures?
Oh
How,
yeah.
yeah, what difference does it make?
Well, I think it makes a huge difference. I mean, obviously, I'm biased, and I would be a fan of it, but I think pro shots are always going to win out.
Yeah.
Just on a personal level, if I'm scrolling through social media, it sticks out to me, and I'm hypersensitive to it.
Mm.
But I just think, oh wow, it catches me. Whereas other ones, I might just scroll on down, and I really, I don't know. And I just want to help people because I see people doing. I don't do so much videography. Do
Hmm.
small bits, but when I see people doing a sort of video, and it's fine sometimes. You do a little snapshot, and it's absolutely fine. But other times, I think, oh, you could do so much better, and it really will elevate you if you have professional videos and photography.
Yeah.
It just will elevate you. Otherwise, you're just going to look like a certain type of level.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I think also, people might not appreciate when they think, oh gosh, this is costing me a lot of money to have these pictures taken.
Mm.
But you can use those again and again and again. I mean, I
Oh
use
yeah.
mine all the time.
Exactly, and I do. I use mine all the time. I mean, I teach as well, Liz. I didn't
Mm,
really. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I've been teaching for that time as well. So I
yes.
do go into schools and things. So I do. I produce flyers for them. I might have to produce things for the parents to have a look at, so they can get to know me a bit before their child signs up for something.
Yeah.
So I just use them, yeah, all the time. Emails, flyers. I mean, I know how to use them, so I suppose that helps.
Yeah.
And I know the value. I appreciate the value
Yeah. Now,
of
you
what
and
they
I
do.
are not close to each other geographically at all, but you have still taken some photos for me. So tell us about your remote photo sessions.
Oh, I know. I mean, this is something that came in the pandemic. So some photographers have probably been doing it a while. But when I talk to people about it, it's still very new. It's amazing.
Mm,
There's so many people that haven't heard about it still. Um, I think in the pandemic, I was resistant to it because because you basically use an app. I work at my Mac and I rely on my client's camera,
yeah.
phone camera. And obviously, we both need good Wi Fi or
Yeah.
relatively good Wi Fi to achieve the task in the first place. So I think I was worried. I was thinking, but no, I need my equipment, and and you do, but also this works, and it's
Mm,
so clever. And obviously, as a photographer, I'm a good editor as well, so that comes into play as well. So you
yeah.
would always edit the photos and clean them up afterwards. But it's just such a clever thing because you could. I've worked with someone in America. You know, you could. It doesn't matter the location
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I've still been working with business owners, but it is something you could do, more relaxed. You could do it as a nice portrait or a family, or, you could use it in a more relaxed way as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
No, I
yeah,
thought it
it's
was
fab.
great fun. I thought it was really clever. And one of the photos you got of me was me inside my recording booth, which is quite small and would be hard to get both of us in here in a real situation if you were here with your camera. So I think there's probably other situations like that where it maybe works better than being on location.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. Yes, so that could work with an artist or anyone that's in a sort of small studio. You could actually capture them at work. And I mean, it's fascinating what it can do, actually. And another benefit, Liz, I think as well, is I found people are quite relaxed because they're
Yes.
in their own space or their own home,
Yeah.
and you can have a bit of fun with it. And I turn my camera off, so that helps with the bandwidth, but also they just hear my sort of floating voice directing them.
Yeah.
And I think they can relax. Otherwise, you've got lights and the camera, and everyone's always a bit like, oh,
Yeah.
when they come to that sort of shoot. So
Yeah.
this is a very different sort of kettle of fish, I think,
Yeah.
and it can be really fun.
Only is the online business network for people who like people. With 350 members across the UK and the US, and meeting times to suit every schedule, Only is offering my listeners a free visit to meet fellow entrepreneurs supporting each other to build their businesses. Find a meeting time that suits you at theonly, that's THEONLE.networking/meeting-calendar and use the discount code SBBNONLE for a free visit. I'll pop those details in the show notes. So you mentioned at the beginning that you're also an NLP practitioner. How did that come about?
Yeah, so that it does seem strange to people. I've always been very much into well-being and all sorts of well-being methods, whether it's massage or talking therapies, and I've been into it a long time. I mean, I did have about a decade of anxiety issues myself,
Mm,
so that's why I've always sort of, I suppose, been researching and looking into it. And I did get the right help eventually, but it took a long time. So I'm living a much better, healthier life
mm,
now. Um, so that's part of it. And then with my photography, I was starting to do sort of well-being walks,
mm.
and pairing up with Bedgebury Forest. And I wanted to take it sort of further. So I think I want to be a bit more credible, even though I know a lot just because I've personally researched. I wanted to be a bit more credible. So
Yeah.
I met Van der Varga. She's got a great name.
Yes.
And she's a great teacher. She's absolutely fantastic, so patient, and just really wants everyone to learn NLP. She's so passionate. So I did this course, but it ended up being so much more than I imagined. I was like, wow. And that feeling of helping people was fantastic. Yeah, I really like that. It's very cleverly worked out. And you can see results pretty quickly with it. So I suppose I'm in the process now of working out how I can pair that perhaps with the creativity of photography. So it's a work in progress. And whether I do more coaching, I'm still working that out in the future, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. That will keep us posted on how that goes. So let's come back to your,
Yeah.
you mentioned the teaching as well. So how much teaching are you doing?
Oh, yeah. So that's sort of, I suppose it ebbs and flows depending on what's going on. So I'm doing quite a bit at the moment. So the summer term in schools is quite good for photography. Obviously, it's got better weather.
Yeah, get outside.
And I think the parents sort of see that as a more logical thing to do photography in the summer rather than a winter sport or something. So it kind of works. So yeah, I work with, kids usually minimum for age 8 going upwards. And I've also got prep schools do like this leavers program because the kids leave at year 8.
Yeah.
So they tend to do a couple of weeks right at the end of loads of activities. So I knew about these, and I'm doing some of those as well. So that's really fun because I like working with that age group, and they really get photography, and they come out with some wicked results as well, which is really, I learned from them as well, which a lot of teachers say you can often learn from your students.
Yes.
From what they do.
Yeah.
So so it ebbs and flows, and it fits in amongst my shoots. But I like the two-pronged sort of approach to my photography.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, three prongs now with the NLP as well.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. 3. But you got to keep life, it's life for living. You've got to keep it exciting.
Well, let's have a chat now about another thing that you do, which is the networking side of things, and how you and I came across each other. Is networking something you've always done since being a business owner?
Oh gosh, not at all. No, I was very late to the party, which is quite frustrating. And I even in the pandemic, I didn't know everyone had gone online because I was at home again with the whole family, and so that's the turn my life took. So I did do some teaching and online stuff, but no, I didn't know everyone was doing this networking online. So it was after the pandemic really that I really got into it. I think it was 2019. I did my first face-to-face.
Yeah.
Locally, I did some, and I was like, oh, this is new. And I remember being really nervous, thinking, oh my God. Because at work I schmoozed and I, got to know lots of people, but I didn't really think of it as networking, I suppose. That was just working.
Yeah.
So to actually do the specific thing that you go along and just talk to people, it was quite nerve-wracking at first.
Yeah, I think it can be. Yeah.
And then online, gosh, when did I get into that? I'd say about 2 years ago now. So it has flown by. But so I found the amazing creative collective online just by chance, where we met.
Yeah.
And I'm in another network. I'm in a few networks. Yeah, and I really enjoy it. I find it quite tiring sometimes fitting it in, with your regular work and everything. So I have to sort of make sure I've paced myself correctly because I love to talk, but it's got to work, obviously with your business as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we need to network. Yeah, we do. Yeah. It's fantastic.
And have you gone back to doing some in-person events as well?
I have, yes, just locally. I've started to do some again, and I do like that too. It's nice. It's very different sitting down, having a coffee with people and chatting face to face. But I've also been amazed at how brilliant it can be online as well, and how well you can get to know someone online.
Yes.
So I can see that both things work, but they're just slightly different. But
and when you do in-person networking, do you take a camera with you?
Oh, not really. I always have my phone, obviously, so I do use that. But no, I don't take my big camera with me. Perhaps I should.
Perhaps you should. I mean, I go to some networks local to me, and there is a local photographer who's often there. He's nearly always got the camera in his hand.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I feel outdone now. I'm gonna have to up my game, Liz. Oh,
It's an idea for you to consider, certainly.
yeah. So he'll take some sort of fly on the wall
Yeah,
pictures, will he?
absolutely.
And then,
Yeah, and then share them on
very
social
clever.
media afterwards. Yeah, and obviously tag people that are in the pictures. Yeah.
Very clever.
So what would you say that you've got from networking?
Well, I think different things. I think I have got some work, but I think it's the support as well, and the learning as well, because you just learn so much. Even if someone's just recommended a book to you, I mean, it could be quite a life-changing book, or quite something that's really made a difference to you, or just a bit of advice, or just a bit of support, to pick you off. You're feeling a bit rubbish, or so it really does serve lots of purposes, I think. And I think there is a case sometimes you might be in the wrong network. If you find you're not getting any work through it and it's not sort of leading to anything, then it might be the wrong one for you, because there's so many. I think you have to sort of feel that you're in the right place, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you feel when there are other photographers in the room? How do you feel about that?
Yes, I have had that experience in person, actually. And it is a bit tricky if they're doing like really similar to you, but another person did sort of remind me but we're so different, if you're going to have different clients because you're a different personality. So even if you're in the same niche, one person might like that person, one client might like you, so you don't have to compete with each other. And I think photographers aren't, I don't know if we're great at being friends. Like, I know the voiceover community is amazing. I'm not so sure. I mean, it's lovely when you meet a photographer friend and you get on really well and it's great and there doesn't feel like that competition. It's really nice. So perhaps we need to try harder. I don't know. Perhaps there is just that fear of competing, maybe still. Not sure.
Yeah. But like you say,
Not
everybody
sure.
is different, and you will attract different people to someone else.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you have to rise above it, just not worry. Yeah, you just have to be yourself.
So finally, Flea, if people want to know more about you, your photography, your remote photography, your NLP, or your teaching, or anything else we've talked about, what is the best place for them to find you?
Well, I do hang out on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out most. So I'm on LinkedIn as Flea Chavasse. I'm very easy to find because I don't think there's anyone else called that.
No.
So it's an easy one to find, Flea Chavasse. And then my website, I suppose, is www.parkerandbootsphotography.com.
And one final question: where did Parker and Boots come from?
Yes. So this is when I sort of got into the branding side of things and working with businesses. So I decided to change my brand. So for years I was Felicia's Fine Photography. And I knew that photographers on the whole use their own names. And I was like, but so shall I not use my own name? And I was a bit nervous about it, but I really wanted something that was different. So I don't know how it came to me, but this is what I wear for most of the year, especially living in the UK. It's cold. So I wear boots and I wear Parkers. That's my favourite type of coat. So I have a variety of them.
I think that's a perfect name for your personal brand, Flea.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, great chatting to you today.
Yeah, thank you very much, and hopefully I will see you at a networking event soon.
Definitely will, Liz.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.